My younger sister became obsessed with romance novels. In her first year of high school, she insisted on dropping out to work as a shop assistant at a dessert store, hoping to run into a domineering CEO. I stopped her. In her second year of high school, she threatened to jump into a river, wanting to travel back in time to become a powerful female lead surrounded by admirers. I saved her. In her third year of high school, she fell in love with a paranoid schizophrenic. Convinced she had met the Yandra male lead from a novel, I told our parents. Every time I tried to talk her out of it, it only deepened her hatred for me. In the end, she stabbed me to death in a frenzied attack, but my parents shielded and indulged her, signing a letter of forgiveness. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the first time she insisted on dropping out of school. I want to work as a shop assistant in a dessert store. That's how the female leads in novels always run into domineering CEOs. Dad, Mom, don't you want me to have a good life? The moment I opened my eyes, I heard Sherry Smith's cries. After looking around, I realized I had been reborn. Right at the moment when she was first insisting on dropping out of school, the house was a mess from her tantrum. My parents were patiently trying to persuade her, but it did nothing to change her resolve. They had no choice but to look at me with pleading eyes. In my previous life, I persuaded her by saying that she was still underage and the dessert shop wouldn't hire her, but she held a grudge, thinking that I didn't want her to have a good life. Every time I tried to dissuade her, it only deepened her resentment toward me. After the college entrance exam results came out, I ranked first in the entire province. She and her obsessive boyfriend ambushed me on my way home, hacking me to death with random knives. In the end, the police uncovered the truth. But my parents shielded and indulged her, signing a letter of forgiveness. As my thoughts returned to the present, I smiled and said, if my sister wants to go, then let her go. If we meet a domineering CEO, our family could cross social classes. Mom, Dad, don't you want a wealthy son-in-law? With every word I said, Sherry Smith's eyes grew brighter. She looked excitedly at our parents and cooed, even sister agrees. So Mom and Dad, you should agree too. When I marry into a wealthy family someday, won't you be happy too? My parents had no choice but to agree. For Sherry Smith's sake, they specially went to the school to request a leave of absence for her for a period of time. They also pulled strings and used their connections to arrange for Sherry Smith to work at a dessert shop. Her daily work is very easy. She works when she feels like it and rests when she doesn't. Her salary is secretly provided by our parents, seeing them go to such lengths. My numb heart couldn't help but twitch. I've known since I was a child that our parents are biased. Sherry Smith and I are twins from the same mother. She has been frail and sickly since birth, and our parents have always felt guilty toward her. From childhood, there was nothing she wanted that she didn't get, even if it was something in my hands. If I hesitated for just a moment, my parents would scold me. What's wrong with letting your younger sister have it? If you hadn't stolen your sister's nutrients in the womb, would she be so weak? You're the older sister, you should take good care of your younger sister. Each sentence was like a curse, binding my entire life. No matter how hard I tried, my achievements never carried as much weight in my parents' hearts as a single frown from Sherry Smith. Over time, I got used to it and became even more silent in this home. Sherry Smith didn't last long at the dessert shop before being let go. The manager came to see my parents, saying that Sherry Smith was affecting their business. When she saw customers who weren't good-looking, Sherry Smith would bluntly criticize them, and when she saw attractive people, she would go up and strike up a conversation. The store had already received many complaints about Sherry Smith. Her parents had no choice but to call Sherry Smith back home. After returning, Sherry Smith was listless for a while, then began taking her anger out on me. Because we looked alike, she forbade me from keeping my hair long or wearing bright-colored clothes. My wardrobe is perpetually filled with lifeless clothes, yet she still finds it insufficient. After returning, she cut all the clothes in my wardrobe to shreds and then tossed them triumphantly in front of me. Don't think I don't know it was you who made Mom and Dad call me back. This is your punishment. Tomorrow, you'll wear these rags to school. I looked up at her, and her face was full of malice. What are you staring at? Still daring to glare at me? Do you believe I'll make Mom and Dad teach you a lesson? I smiled, then ran to her room under her arrogant gaze and tore all the romance novels she had collected to pieces. Sherry Smith froze for a few seconds before letting out a sharp, piercing scream. Nancy Smith, how dare you? Furious, she pushed me aside and hugged the torn pages, her eyes glaring at me as if filled with venom. I crossed my arms, unimpressed. What, you can cut up my clothes, but I can't tear your books. As if she had never seen me like this before, she rushed at me with hatred, gripping my neck tightly. "I'm going to kill you, you bitch." Hearing the commotion, my mother hurried over and pulled us apart. I coughed a few times and threw myself into my mother's arms, my eyes blurred with tears. "I'm sorry, Mom. I just wanted to cure Sherry's delusional disorder, but I never expected she would try to kill me." Mom was about to scold me, but upon hearing my words, she quickly comforted me, saying, "Nancy, how could Sherry possibly want to kill you? She was just joking with you." Sherry Smith grabbed my hand, trying to pull me out of my mother's embrace. She gritted her teeth and said, "You bitch, how dare you tattle on me? Get out of here now." Hearing this, I timidly hid further into my mother's embrace. Seeing Sherry Smith's attitude, my mother grew somewhat angry. "Sherry, how are you speaking to your sister?" Sherry Smith's eyes were filled with hatred. "She is not my sister, she's just a debt collector, born to collect debts." My mother was so furious that she slapped her. After hitting her, my mother immediately regretted it. Sherry Smith covered her face in disbelief and ran out of the house. Mom wanted to chase after her but hesitated because of me. I sensibly let go of my mother's hand and said, "Mom, go ahead, sister is more important." She nodded with relief, took a few bills from her wallet, and handed them to me. "Buy yourself some clothes when you have time." After saying that, she anxiously chased after her. It turned out that she had indeed seen my clothes cut to pieces, but in her previous life, in order to appease Sherry Smith, she had chosen to ignore it. But this small amount of money couldn't even buy a single piece of clothing from Sherry Smith's wardrobe. I smiled bitterly to myself. It wasn't until the news broadcasted the phenomenon of the 9 planets aligning that I realized Sherry Smith's second episode of madness was about to begin. Lately, she had become obsessed with time travel novels, fantasizing about traveling back to ancient times and using her modern knowledge to dominate the era. Surrounded by admirers on all sides, her originally average grades had dropped significantly after she took time off recently, but she didn't seem to care at all. In fact, she began to slack off even more, immersing herself in her fantasies every day, plotting how to make her time travel dreams come true. The day of the 9-star alignment was her best opportunity. In my previous life, I saw her flailing by the river on my way home and quickly rescued her. Not only was she ungrateful, but she also held a grudge against me for preventing her from crossing over. This time around, I directly applied for school accommodation. At 10 o'clock in the evening, my teacher called me and said something had happened at home, telling me to go to the hospital. When I arrived at the hospital, Sherry Smith was lying on the hospital bed, her face pale. I pushed the door open and softly called out, "Mom." Mom turned her head and slapped me across the face, her eyes red and swollen as she said, "Is this how you take care of your sister?" I instinctively wanted to explain, but she wouldn't listen. She grabbed me by the collar, dragged me to the bathroom, and shoved my head forcefully into the sink. I felt a wave of suffocation, and all I could hear was my mother's furious voice. "If you had been watching your sister properly, she wouldn't have drowned. Now you can experience what she went through. I've already died once, yet it still hurts so much." My heart felt as if it were being tightly squeezed, aching unbearably. After a long moment, Mother let go. I gasped for breath, water droplets trickling from my hair onto the floor, the glossy surface reflecting my deathly pale face. Mother's expression was cold. "Take some time off and take care of your sister in the hospital." I clenched my fist. "No." Her face changed, her tone stern. "What did you say?" "She brought this on herself. Why should I come to the hospital to look after her?" "On what grounds? Just because you took your sister's nutrients in the womb, you owe her for the rest of your life." This phrase again. In my past life, I was emotionally blackmailed with these words right up until my death. Even now, I can't forget that after I died, my soul drifted upward, and my parents didn't shed a single tear. My mother looked at my body and said coldly, "She has owed her sister since the womb. Now it's finally settled, but from beginning to end, she was the only one who wanted to give birth to us." I lifted my head, stiffened my neck, and replied, "You were the one who decided to have us, and you're the one who owes my sister, not me." Mom got furious and slapped me hard across the face. "How dare you talk back?" I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth. "Did I say something wrong? Is it just easier to pin the blame on me to ease your own guilt?" From childhood to adulthood, she lived in a bright, spacious room, while I lived in a cramped, crowded little compartment. She loved spicy food, so the table was always filled only with the dishes she liked. Yet you never remembered that my stomach is weak and the doctor said I can only eat bland food. Her clothes and shoes piled up until there was no room left, while my closet only had a few cheap, bargain bin items just enough to get by. Is it only the crying child who gets the candy? Then why did you even bring me into this world? Was it just to share the guilt you had nowhere else to place? As if frightened by my ferocious expression, she froze for a long moment before softening her tone. Your sister is in poor health. As the older sister, you should be more accommodating. Over and over, it was the same old lines. They were like robots programmed to love only my sister. I'm tired. I looked at her and let out a cold laugh. Let your mom give way. I turned and ran out of the hospital room. I shouldn't have expected them to have any normal thoughts in their heads. Back in the dorm, my mind became a bit clearer. I won't be going back to that home again. It's just that with my current situation, I don't yet have the ability to live on my own. I need to find a part-time job. Just as I was lost in thought, I heard my roommate Lucy Brown complaining about her declining grades. Lucy Brown comes from a well-off family, but she is very down-to-earth. Living in the dormitory and eating in the cafeteria just like the rest of us, she puts a lot of effort into her studies, but it seems she hasn't found the right approach, so her grades have always been mediocre. Thinking of this, I took the initiative to speak up. Lucy Brown, if you don't mind, I can help you with your studies, as long as you pay a small fee. Before I could finish, she excitedly threw herself at me. Really, Nancy? I nodded in surprise, as if I hadn't expected that reaction. She chuckled twice. You're so good at your studies, I've always wanted to ask you, but I was worried you wouldn't have the time. Don't worry, I'll pay you the highest tutoring rate on the market. I quickly waved my hand. No, that's too much. Even if I didn't know the highest tutoring fee, this must be a significant amount. Don't be polite. If my mom knew the top student in the grade was tutoring me, she'd be over the moon. She might even give you more, so just take it. My eyes grew a little red. I know Lucy Brown meant well. Everyone usually thinks I'm struggling financially, so they always look out for me. I'm afraid they don't know that Sherry Smith and I are sisters. 2 months later, with my tutoring, Lucy Brown's grades improved by leaps and bounds. Her mother found out and happily gave me a red envelope as a token of gratitude. I kept refusing, but Lucy Brown insisted on giving it to me. She accompanied me to the mall to buy a few pieces of clothing. Looking at the unfamiliar reflection in the mirror, I felt a bit embarrassed, but Lucy Brown kept praising me, giving me confidence. Just as I was smiling and about to head back to school with her, I unexpectedly ran into Sherry Smith and her mother. Sherry Smith, carrying large and small shopping bags, was acting coquettishly toward her mother, who looked at her with adoration. It was such a heartwarming scene of a loving mother and a devoted daughter. I wiped the smile off my face. For the past 2 months, I hadn't returned home or contacted my family, and it seemed as if they had forgotten about me. Sherry Smith turned her head and saw me. She raised an eyebrow and walked over. She glanced at me a few times, frowned, and then grabbed my clothes, scolding, "How dare you wear such clothes? Take them off right now." Lucy Brown seemed a bit confused. She forcibly separated me and Sherry Smith and asked impatiently, "What are you doing?" Sherry Smith crossed her arms, lifted her chin slightly, and looked arrogantly smug. "This is our family matter. Don't meddle in other people's business." Family matter. Lucy Brown's gaze shifted back and forth between us. When she noticed our similar faces, it seemed she had realized something. She snorted, "What family matters? I see Nancy eating and living at school, and her parents have never once come to visit. I thought her family was dead." Sherry Smith stamped her foot in anger. "How dare you curse me? I'll tear your mouth apart." She rushed forward to attack but was pushed aside by Lucy Brown with one hand. She fell to the ground, and her mother quickly helped her up. After making sure she was okay, her mother slapped me hard across the face. "Nancy Smith, your sister has just recovered. How dare you team up with such shady people to bully your sister?" Lucy Brown was caught off guard by the false accusation and was a bit stunned. "Auntie, who are you?" "I am Nancy Smith's mother." Lucy Brown was furious. "I've never seen a mother like you. Can't you tell right from wrong?" My mother was about to say something more, but I pulled Sherry Smith out from behind her and slapped her hard across the face. Sherry Smith let out a sharp, piercing scream. My mother was shocked. She quickly pulled Sherry Smith behind her. "Nancy Smith, have you lost your mind?" I curled my lips into a smirk. "Yes, I've lost my mind. I lost it the moment you started showing favoritism. If Sherry Smith dares to provoke me again, my retaliation won't be as simple as a slap." Sherry Smith's eyes were filled with hatred as she lunged at me, clawing and pulling at my hair. "You dare hit me, you bitch." I didn't hold back either, hitting her where it hurt the most. After a few blows, she let go in pain, glaring at me with resentment. During the struggle, My shopping bag fell to the ground, and I bent down to pick it up. Sherry Smith saw the logo on the clothes, a flash of jealousy and resentment in her eyes. Mom, look at the clothes Nancy Smith bought. I don't even have many pieces from this brand. Where did she get the money? Mom's face darkened. Nancy Smith. I've taught you since you were little that a girl should have self-respect and self-dignity. How did you get this money? With just one sentence, she wanted to nail me to the pillar of shame. More and more passers-by were gathering around. I said calmly, I earned it from a part-time job. Sherry Smith looked disdainful. What kind of part-time job could you possibly do? I stopped Lucy Brown, who was about to speak up for me. Do you think I'm like you? The kind of person who works at a dessert shop and still needs their family to cover their expenses. Sorry. But I rank first every year, unlike you, who's at the bottom. I make a living with my knowledge. Sherry Smith trembled with anger. What's so great about a lousy grade? What else do you have besides your grades? Mom quickly tried to calm Sherry Smith down, then turned to me with a frown. With such good grades, why don't you tutor your sister? I sneered. Lucy Brown can pay me for tutoring, can you? Your sisters. How can you have the nerve to talk about money? If I didn't talk about money, I would have starved to death during these 2 months you didn't give me any living expenses. How could I even be here for you to scold me? Mom was furious. You caused your sister to fall into the water, refused to admit your mistake, and ran away. Do you expect me to go and coax you back? I rubbed my forehead. Right. Not following her every step of the way means I caused it. Not being able to teleport to save her when she jumped into the river means I caused it. The passerby looked at my mother with an inexplicable expression, as if she were some kind of oddity. My mother didn't notice and instead acted as if it were only natural. It was your responsibility to begin with. I grabbed Lucy Brown and turned to leave. If I ever say another word to you, I'll be a dog. My mother's face flushed with anger. If you dare leave, don't ever come back. I ignored her and quickened my pace. As I reached a corner, I slowed down. I'm sorry, Lucy Brown, for making you witness such an embarrassing scene. She shook her head. Nancy, I really admire you. Despite growing up in such a family, you've managed to become so outstanding. You're truly amazing. Is it impressive? I don't know. I only know that in this life, I want to live for myself. While I was preparing for the college entrance exam at school, Sherry Smith met the male protagonist of her novel, Kevin Brown. Kevin Brown is the illegitimate son of Lucy Brown's uncle and was only recently recognized by the Brown family. This person is paranoid and perverted, enjoying the fear of others. The moment Sherry Smith saw him, she felt she had met her true love. She eagerly clung to him, unaware that he took the greatest pleasure in tormenting others at their happiest moments. I ran into them at the corner of the school. Sherry Smith held his arm, speaking intimately into his ear. When she saw me, Sherry Smith's expression changed slightly. She pulled Kevin Brown away in a hurry, as if afraid to let me get another look. That night, when I returned to the dorm, she was waiting for me downstairs, her tone icy. Nancy Smith, I'm warning you, stay away from Kevin Brown. Kevin Brown is mine. I rolled my eyes and brushed past her. She grabbed me angrily. What do you mean by that? I was a bit impatient. If you like a lunatic, that's your business. It has nothing to do with me. Her hand tightened its grip. How do you know Kevin Brown is sick? Did you investigate him? I frowned and shook her off. I don't think someone who abuses cats is normal. The incident of Kevin Brown abusing cats had already spread throughout the entire school. Everyone else was afraid of Kevin Brown, but only Sherry Smith kept getting close to him under the guise of saving the male lead. Hearing my words, she breathed a sigh of relief. They're just animals. What's the big deal? I raised an eyebrow and said with an ambiguous tone, I hope you'll still think that way in the future. What do you mean? I ignored her and turned to walk toward the dormitory, seemingly dissatisfied with my neglect of her. She said loudly from behind, your room has been turned into my walk-in closet by Mom. Mom said you'd better die outside and never come back. I quickened my pace. These words no longer had any effect on me. Only she still wanted to use them as a weapon to hurt me. I reviewed and studied through exam after exam. Sherry Smith skipped class again and again to chase after Kevin Brown. To prove her reckless love for Kevin Brown to everyone, she documented every little detail of her time with him in her social media posts. Before the college entrance exams, she started vomiting uncontrollably during a physical education class and was rushed to the hospital. The hospital examination revealed that she was pregnant. The doctor told my mother that the child Sherry Smith was carrying could not be kept. Her previous reckless act of jumping into the river had made it difficult for her to conceive, and even if she did get pregnant, she couldn't carry the baby to full term. so having an abortion early on was the best solution. For once, my mother lost her temper with Sherry Smith and demanded that she abort the child, but Sherry Smith refused to comply. Insisting that the baby was the fruit of her love with Kevin Brown, my mother had no choice but to go to the Brown family, but the Brown family refused to acknowledge it and instead beat Kevin Brown. By the time my mother returned to the hospital, Sherry Smith was already gone. She had sneaked out. My mother searched everywhere for Sherry Smith but couldn't find her anywhere. In just 2 short months, she had become so haggard. As if she had aged 10 years, Sherry Smith missed the final exam. Missed the college entrance exam, and she failed to obtain her high school diploma. After the college entrance exam ended, through Lucy Brown's introduction, I took on other tutoring jobs and saved enough for living expenses and tuition. I thought my life would settle into peace from then on, but I never expected Sherry Smith to come back. The day after the results came out, she returned home in a disheveled state. At that time, I had achieved the top score in the province, and various media outlets came to my home hoping to interview me, but I had long since cut ties with my mother and the others, so she could only awkwardly decline. When Sherry Smith returned, she had lost a lot of weight, as if she had endured immense suffering, and the child in her womb was gone. Her family comforted her for a long time before she hesitantly revealed the truth. After running away for love, she found Kevin Brown, who rented a place for her. In the beginning, Kevin Brown also took good care of her for a while, but it didn't take long for Kevin Brown's true nature to show. He often abused Sherry Smith, and when she tried to escape, he would repeatedly apologize, confessing that he couldn't control his illness because he loved her too much and didn't want her to leave. Sherry Smith believed she was the heroine, with a duty to heal the male lead, so she stayed, but the cycle repeated until she was beaten by Kevin Brown and suffered a miscarriage. Only then did she become afraid, rushing home in a state of disarray. My mother, having regained what was lost, held her and wept bitterly, but Sherry Smith missed the college entrance exam, and her future was already gone. Just as the news of my top score in the province came, they wanted me to return home. I'm not a fool, I didn't think anything good would come from going back, so I ignored every call they made, but they were very persistent and found my teacher, asking for help in persuading me. I won't listen. You're blocking my way to my part-time job again. Seeing that I'm about to be late, I got angry. What exactly do you want? My mother looked displeased. How can you talk like that? We're family. Why are you so stubborn? I looked at them with a forced smile. Without waiting for my reply, my mother frowned and continued, "It's been so long since you've been home, you should go back." I sneered, "Is there still a room for me at home?" She paused, her tone slightly unnatural. "Of course there is if you go back." "Oh, is this Sherry Smith's cloakroom? As long as you come back, we can discuss wherever you want to live." I nodded. "All right, then I want Sherry Smith's room." Sherry Smith rushed out limping. "Nancy Smith, don't be so ungrateful." Her legs were ruined under Kevin Brown's torment. I curved my lips into a smile. "Sherry Smith, why are you back? Didn't you run away for love?" She seemed as if she had been stepped on the tail, furious and flustered. "Shut up, you bitch." My mother quickly pulled her behind. "Nancy, don't argue with your sister. She did some bad things before, but now she regrets it. We should be forgiving." I looked up at her. "So what does this have to do with me?" My mother smiled. "Sherry didn't take the college entrance exam, otherwise she would have been at the top of the list just like you. This is what I think, you and Sherry are twins and look so much alike. Why don't you let Sherry have your college entrance exam results this time? After all, your grades are so good, you can just take the exam again next year." I almost laughed in disbelief. "Look at her, lame and unlucky. Where do you see any resemblance to me? And you want me to give her my exam results? Why don't you ask her to give me her life instead?" My mother's face turned ashen. "You owe your sister so much. What's wrong with giving up a grade? If you hadn't stolen your sister's nutrients in the womb, this year's top scorer in the college entrance exam would have been your sister, right?" "Right. If you hadn't been pregnant with Sherry Smith and only carried me, I would have been twice as smart, and the genius girl would have been me." She was taken aback, seemingly caught off guard by my words. Sherry Smith threw a sharp stone at me from the side, and it hit my leg directly. I cried out in pain, and when I looked up, I saw the resentment on Sherry Smith's face. "If you say I'm crippled, wouldn't it be the same if your leg were crippled too?" I was furious. I walked over to Sherry Smith, grabbed her head, and slammed it against the wall. She screamed, and when my mother saw it, she rushed over to stop me. I let go, and Sherry Smith collapsed to the ground. I crouched down and patted her face, threatening, I told you, don't mess with me, I have a mental illness. Do you know what that means? It's like Kevin Brown, I could do this and that to you. Sherry Smith let out a scream, covering her ears, clearly not wanting to hear what I was about to say next. My mother quickly gathered her into her arms and comforted her softly. I sneered and turned to leave. How ridiculous. The next day, I saw Sherry Smith's video slandering me online. She claimed that I bullied my sister and insulted my parents, combined with the hype of being the top scorer in the college entrance exam. I instantly went viral. Lucy Brown found me while I was preparing for class. Learning this news, I wasn't really surprised. Since she couldn't achieve this result, she naturally wanted to ruin me. I didn't clarify immediately. Instead, I took advantage of the hype to open a social media account. I shared a lot of study tips and notes, and these practical resources were well received by many. They cursed me while downloading my materials, and my popularity only grows. Teachers and classmates from the same school are also speaking up for me. Gradually, people began to question Sherry Smith's statements. As public opinion shifted, she grew anxious. She posted a short essay as a victim, with sincere and heartfelt words. In her essay, she claimed that I often abused and beat her, pretending to be obedient in front of our parents while acting differently behind their backs. She also alleged that I threatened her not to attend classes because I was afraid she would take away my title as the top student in the grade. She even shared photos of the bruises and marks from the alleged abuse, each one looking vicious and horrifying. As soon as the essay was published, public opinion began to sway in her favor once again. My comments section was bombarded, and my private messages were filled with insults. Some even began to question how someone with my character could have achieved the top score in the province. They demanded that the Education Bureau conduct a strict investigation into my exam process. My parents knew everything, but instead of speaking up for me, they posted vague and misleading statements to mislead everyone. I felt as if I had become a heinous criminal, being judged by everyone. Just as I was about to post the evidence I had gathered, a video from a shopping mall suddenly appeared online, sealing their fate as rumormongers. It was a video from a year ago, when Lucy Brown and I encountered them at the mall. Sherry Smith's aggressiveness and my mother's favoritism were vividly on display. I'm a bit surprised. I dialed Lucy Brown's number. Lucy Brown, did you release this video? Of course. They were slandering you like that. I had to help you, luckily. This mall belongs to my family, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to find it. I curved the corner of my mouth. Thank you. Why be so polite with me? We're like family. I ended the conversation with a smile. I then shared screenshots from the past year of Sherry Smith's social media posts, where she documented her sweet love story with Kevin Brown. There were posts of her skipping class to go on dates with Kevin Brown, nights out at bars with him, and even records of their turbulent relationship. How she ran away for love, was mistreated by Kevin Brown, and then reconciled with him. Every single detail, not one missed. Although she had already deleted them, I had saved everything long ago. It goes without saying who she skipped class for and who gave her those injuries. I also released a few recordings of conversations between me and Sherry Smith. It was clear at a glance who was being aggressive and who was playing the victim for sympathy. The online sentiment immediately shifted, and Sherry Smith faced widespread condemnation. She refused to accept it and continued to argue, but after realizing she was being criticized even more harshly, she grew afraid and stayed at home all day, not daring to go out. I successfully applied to the university I had always dreamed of, and at the same time, the number of followers on my study account skyrocketed. On the day of enrollment, I received a text message from an unknown contact. Two hands wearing rings, tightly clasped together, came into view. Kevin Brown has already proposed to me, and I'm about to marry into the Brown family. Thanks to the screenshots you shared, Kevin Brown has completely turned over a new leaf. You, with all your book smarts, will never catch up to me in this lifetime. I raised an eyebrow and replied, let's not talk about anything else for now, but when it comes to enduring a beating, I'm definitely no match for you. After a moment of silence on the other end, messages came in one after another. Nancy Smith, fuck, I smiled and blocked them directly. I applied for the archaeology major. A university's archaeology program is ranked #1 in the country. I enjoy the feeling of working with cultural relics. Here, I've met many like-minded people. I immerse myself in learning every day, sharing study tips, and my life is incredibly fulfilling. But Sherry Smith always sends me messages from unfamiliar numbers from time to time. Either she's bragging about Kevin Brown taking her to high-end restaurants or showing off the gifts he gives her. I read them all but never reply. At the end of freshman year, something happened to Sherry Smith. Lucy Brown told me that Sherry Smith had not gained the Brown family's approval. Kevin Brown resented Sherry Smith for running away. He knew she was vain and wanted to marry into a wealthy family. So he pretended to repent and orchestrated an extravagant proposal to satisfy Sherry Smith's vanity. Sherry Smith naturally reconciled with him. Not long after, they were living together again, only this time Kevin Brown directly locked her in the basement. My mother grew anxious when she couldn't get in touch with Sherry Smith. She went to Kevin Brown, but he denied that Sherry Smith was with him. It wasn't until the Brown family discovered Kevin Brown's basement that they rescued Sherry Smith, who was barely alive. When Sherry Smith was sent to the hospital, she was barely recognizable, with multiple fractures and injuries detected all over her body. She stayed in the ICU for a full month. The Brown family casually gave a small amount of money to cover the expenses, but it was quickly used up. The family's savings were gone, and my parents had no other choice but to come to me again. Under the dormitory building, my mother's figure had become much more stooped, and my father's hair had turned gray. Seeing me, my mother pleaded desperately, "Nancy, please help your sister. The family has no money now, and I know you make money from your self-media work. Please save your sister." My thoughts drifted a little. I remember when I was young, our family wasn't like this. It's not that my parents didn't love me, but Sherry Smith kept draining them like a daughter plant. The family's resources began to shift, leading to the current situation. Looking at my mother before me, I softly asked, "Mom, do you regret it?" A trace of confusion appeared in her eyes, and then her expression turned fierce. "If it weren't for Kevin Brown, Sherry wouldn't have ended up like this. Once Sherry recovers, I will not let the Brown family off. As for your friend with the surname Brown, you should stop associating with her. The Brown family has no good people." My heart grew even colder. "My affairs are none of your concern. Sherry Smith has only herself to blame for ending up in this state. Of course, you can't escape responsibility either. If it weren't for your constant indulgence and spoiling, Sherry Smith wouldn't have made mistake after mistake. Since you don't have the money for treatment, then sell the house." "No, no. If we sell the house, where will Sherry live in the future?" "Fine. If you don't sell it, then just wait to scatter Sherry Smith's ashes at home." My father roared, "Nancy Smith, how can you be so heartless? Sherry is your own sister," I said expressionlessly. "Did she ever consider that I am her own sister when she slandered me online? Did any of you think about me being your own daughter when you took her side?" My mother was at a loss for words, and after a long pause, she could only repeat the same phrases over and over. Just as I was about to leave, she called out to me, "We haven't agreed to you cutting ties with us. We've raised you for so long. If you pay back all the money we spent on you, we won't bother you anymore." I turned around. "How much do you want?" She thought for a moment. 500,000. I smiled, but there was no warmth in my eyes. Where would a college student get that kind of money? "From now on, I'll give you the alimony as required by law. As for anything else, don't even think about getting a single cent." I turned and entered the dormitory, not caring how ugly their expressions were behind me. Finally, they sold the house to save Sherry Smith from the brink of death. The family of 3 moved into a cramped little house. Her mother quit her job to take care of Sherry Smith. Her father, bearing the burden of supporting the family alone and covering Sherry Smith's expensive medical bills, grew increasingly haggard. I successfully secured a spot for graduate school and entered the next phase of my life. Every day, I followed my senior classmates on various field trips, which kept me very fulfilled. I heard from Lucy Brown that Kevin Brown had died. After Sherry Smith returned from the hospital, she remained quiet and withdrawn. My mother was worried and often took her out for walks, but she still seemed lifeless, having lost the vibrancy typical of her age. After that incident, Kevin Brown was forcibly sent abroad by his family. But he got back in touch with Sherry Smith and secretly returned to China to meet her. While he was off guard, Sherry Smith stabbed a small knife into his stomach and stayed by his side until he died. Kevin Brown was dead, and the Brown family was furious. My parents didn't want Sherry Smith to go to prison, so they considered taking the blame for her, but the evidence was solid, and there was nothing they could do. Before she was convicted, Sherry Smith came to see me. Having suffered such a great misfortune, she was now completely different from me. The only thing that remained unchanged was probably the resentment in her eyes. She resents her parents for being powerless and unable to protect her. She resents Kevin Brown for being cruel and heartless, for betraying her. She resents me for failing to fulfill my duties as an older sister. I spoke calmly. "Sherry Smith, you've blamed so many people, but have you ever blamed yourself?" Everything you've gone through is the consequence of your own actions." She hung her head low, her hair obscuring her expression. "You're talking nonsense. We're born of the same mother, so why is there such a huge difference between us?" She lifted her head, her expression somewhat frenzied. "This isn't right. You stole my life." I frowned and took a few steps back. It was clear that Sherry Smith was now mentally unstable and starting to delude herself. Sherry Smith rushed toward me, pulling out a small knife from her pocket, but she was quickly subdued by the school security guards nearby. "My parents took her away. Before going to prison, Sherry Smith committed suicide. My mother couldn't bear the blow and went insane. My father also left and moved far away." Lucy Brown came to comfort me, afraid that I might be sad, but I actually felt as if a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. In this lifetime, without my dissuasion, Sherry Smith ended up on a path of no return. Because I didn't interfere, I broke away from the original course and started a new life. I successfully pursued my PhD, graduated, and spent my days constantly on the move with the research team. Though busy, it's fulfilling. At Lucy Brown's wedding, I served as her bridesmaid and witnessed her happiness. She wanted to toss the bouquet to me, but I refused. She looked a bit puzzled. "Nancy, don't you want to settle down?" I thought for a moment and shook my head. Over the years, many people have shown interest in me, but I've never agreed to any of them. I'm not sure if I have the ability to love someone or to raise a child well. No matter how much I try to distance myself from my family of origin, I'm still afraid that my child might not be happy enough. I think dedicating my life to a career I'm passionate about would also be a fulfilling ending. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. In my past life, my parents died saving the Taylor family. Afterward, I was brought from the countryside to the Taylor family, where I stayed for 10 years as their adopted daughter, and for 10 years, I loved Andy Taylor. Later, my diary was discovered by Uncle Taylor, who decided that Andy Taylor should marry me. For 10 years after marriage, Andy Taylor faced me with a cold expression every day. He treated me like a maid, even making me hand wash his underwear. Even when it came to intimacy, he would only come to my room after his father had a talk with him. Later, he suddenly took me and our son to enjoy the rain on a rainy day, but unfortunately, we encountered a flash flood. He left me and our son at the foot of the mountain and drove up to rescue his childhood sweetheart. My son and I were swept away by the flood. After I died, my soul drifted in the sky, watching Andy Taylor holding Linda and her child. Comforting them, Linda cried and said, "Andy, I'm sorry. If it weren't for me, your wife and child wouldn't have been swept away by the flood." But Andy Taylor replied with gentle cruelty, "It's not your fault. I never loved her in the first place. If it weren't for her, I would have been with you long ago, and you and the child wouldn't have suffered. If she hadn't interfered, why would my father have forbidden me from coming out? I wouldn't have had to use the excuse of taking them out to play just to rescue you and the child. This is what she and her child owe you." At that moment, I wished I could kill that bastard Andy Taylor. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my diary was discovered. Only this time, it was Andy Taylor who got hold of my diary first. He threw the diary into the fire basin and warned me coldly, "Rose, stay away from me. Don't you dare have any disgusting thoughts about me." I sneered coldly, "Just as well. In this life, I'm not here to love you either." Andy Taylor didn't leave my room until he saw the diary burn to ashes. Before leaving, he warned me, "Stop writing these disgusting things from now on. Keep all your frivolous thoughts to yourself, and the Taylor family might still tolerate you. Otherwise, go back to wherever you came from." It wasn't until some time after he left that I realized I had been reborn. I was reborn before I had married Andy Taylor. With my diary torn to pieces, leaving Uncle Taylor unaware of my feelings, in this life, I will not marry Andy Taylor again. I took a deep breath, and the scent of Andy Taylor invaded my lungs. I felt a wave of nausea and immediately opened the window to drive away Andy Taylor's smell. In my previous life, I was very sensitive to his scent. Every time I got close to Andy Taylor, I would instinctively be drawn to it. I couldn't help but secretly inhale, as if the air entering my lungs was also a form of intimate contact. But in this life, the moment I catch his scent, I'm filled with such hatred that I can't help but feel nauseous. If I had a knife in my hand right now, I wouldn't hesitate to stab him, but I understand that doing so would ruin my life once again. He has already destroyed me once in this lifetime. In this life, let him have his wish and stay locked together with his childhood sweetheart. In this life, I must make myself strong and not depend on the Taylor family. because Uncle Taylor had given a strict order that I must not leave until after I graduated from university. I had only 1 year left until graduation, which meant I would soon be able to leave the Taylor family. Uncle Taylor had always treated me well, and I didn't want to cause him too much sorrow. At this time in my previous life, because of my outstanding performance in physics, I had already received an invitation from the Academy of Sciences. I immediately searched through a pile of books and, sure enough, found the invitation letter. Luckily I hid it well, otherwise Andy Taylor would have definitely found it just now. In my previous life, I gave up the invitation from the Academy of Sciences for Andy Taylor. Willingly gave up my career to focus on household chores, and abandoned the physics I was so proud of. The truth proves that women who are too love-struck won't end up well. Even if I were to cut out my heart for Andy Taylor, his heart would never be with me. In my past life, it was my obsession that forced him. In this life, I will no longer be moved. This scoundrel, whoever wants him can have him. I only need to endure for 1 more month before I can go to the Academy of Sciences. After packing my clothes, I grabbed my suitcase and headed out. I'm planning to stay at the school dormitory for a month. Unfortunately, I ran into Andy Taylor going out with Linda. I originally wanted to pretend I didn't see them, but Linda deliberately waited for me with Andy Taylor. "Rose, are you heading out? Andy is taking me out. Would you like a ride?" My eyes were a bit red from crying earlier, so I didn't look up. I just coldly refused. "No need, I'll take a taxi." But Andy Taylor said coldly, "What are you up to again? Do you think putting on this act makes you look independent? Don't tell me you want my dad to see this and misunderstand that our family mistreats you. Rose, you really are cunning." I gritted my teeth. That bastard never had a single decent thing to say. What I can't figure out is why, in this lifetime, it wasn't Uncle Taylor who discovered my diary, but Andy Taylor. Seeing that I remained silent, Andy Taylor continued, "What? Did I hit a nerve? If it weren't for that diary, I would never have known your filthy thoughts. I wouldn't have had to endure a lifetime of compromise. By the way, I've already confessed to Linda, and will be getting married soon. My future wife, the mother of my future children, will only be Linda. Come and greet her." My heart jolted in shock. Why would Andy Taylor say such a thing? Has he also been reborn? Otherwise, why would he be the one to find my diary first in this lifetime? He immediately went to confess to Linda, and there was his attitude toward me. In the previous life, after the diary was discovered, he was merely annoyed with me, but now it's clearly disgust. I looked up at Andy Taylor, who was staring at me with a threatening look in his eyes. "Rose, say something." My eyes grew even redder. Could it be that he and Linda had also died, because Andy Taylor loved Linda too much? He returned in this life to protect her and their future child. Then what about me and my child? What a huge joke. I warned myself not to overthink it. Andy Taylor and I would not get married, let alone have children, whether he is reborn or not. In this life, I don't want to have any further connection with him. Linda shyly tugged on Andy Taylor's sleeve, coquettishly saying, "Oh, don't make things difficult for Rose. You know very well how the girl feels about you, yet you still push her like this. Aren't you afraid she might run away from home? If that happens and your father gets angry, he'll definitely make you kneel in the family shrine." Linda was indeed the same as in the previous life, always fond of sowing discord. In my past life, I suffered a lot at her hands, but in this life, now that I no longer love Andy Taylor, I find her utterly ridiculous. Andy Taylor shielded Linda and said to me, "What are you standing there for? Don't tell me you still have feelings for me. If you dare tell Dad about your feelings for me, you're dead." Andy Taylor began to threaten me. I glanced sideways at Andy Taylor, unable to hide the disgust in my eyes as I said, "You've misunderstood. Those letters I wrote were for someone else." Andy Taylor was momentarily stunned by the disgust in my eyes, then burst out laughing at my words. "You're saying those letters were written for someone else? Rose, not only are your thoughts filthy, but you're also a habitual liar. I should let Dad see this side of you, or else he'd still think you're as pure as a blank sheet of paper." Linda stood by, watching me with a smile. She even added fuel to the fire, saying, "Andy, you can't blame the young lady who told her to look at your face every day. If it were me, I'd find it hard to like any man other than you. Linda, my heart belongs only to you. I only love you. The affection of others has nothing to do with me, and I don't care for it," Andy Taylor said, glaring at me. I suppressed the surging emotions and denied it. "Believe it or not, that letter wasn't for you. Even if we go to Uncle Taylor, I dare say it wasn't written for you. Brother, sister-in-law, you two go have fun. I've already made plans with a friend to take the bus. Isn't it just calling them brother and sister-in-law? I'll call them that, in this lifetime. We are just siblings." I walked away pulling my suitcase without looking back. Linda said with feigned magnanimity, "Oh, this young lady has quite the temper. You must have upset her. Why don't you go and make it up to her?" Andy Taylor hugged Linda tightly, unable to resist the urge to get intimate, but he noticed my stubborn figure as I walked away. He said coldly, "Don't mind her. Don't think a little act of saving my life gives you the right to control me. If she has the guts, let her never set foot in the Taylor family's house again." I never once thought about stepping into the Taylor family's house. If only I could. How I wish Mom and Dad could come back and stay with me, but there are no if-onlys, so I can only make sure to live my future life well. Grandpa and Grandma are still waiting for me back in the countryside to take care of them in their old age. I absolutely cannot waste any more time on Andy Taylor, after a few days at school. Uncle Taylor called me and asked me to come home. His birthday was coming up, and he wanted me to return for the celebration. These past few days, the social circle has been quite lively, because Andy Taylor announced his relationship with Linda. The young masters in the circle have been fawning over Andy Taylor, so they also gave Linda some respect, for Uncle Taylor's birthday this time. I'm afraid he will announce the marriage between Andy Taylor and Linda. I don't want to bring bad luck. But Uncle Taylor insisted that I go back, saying he has something to announce this time. I had no choice but to agree, and in the end, Uncle Taylor sent someone to pick me up. When I saw that red Ferrari, I was still a bit surprised. "Hello, little sister. Brother Charles is here to pick you up." Charles and Andy Taylor grew up together, and you could say I grew up with them too, because of my personal feelings. I never called Andy Taylor brother, and naturally never called Charles brother either. "Hello, Brother Charles. Sorry for the trouble." Charles's smile faltered for a moment, then he stopped smiling and looked at me through his sunglasses. "Are you okay?" I was baffled. "I'm fine. Why? Are you okay?" He stared at me for a few seconds, then turned his head away and led me out under everyone's gaze. "Do you know about Andy and that person's situation?" "I've heard." "What do you think?" "Me. If they want to get married, let them. I'll give a gift. It's just that I don't have any money right now, Brother Charles. How about lending me some?" I even cracked a little joke. Charles clicked his tongue, as if he had just discovered a new world. "Aren't you fond of Andy Taylor, Brother Charles?" "I don't like Andy Taylor." Charles glanced at me a couple more times and smiled. "Then what about me? If you don't like Andy, could you like me instead?" Back at the Taylor family home, Uncle and Aunt were both there. As I entered, I tripped on the rug and nearly fell. Charles reached out and caught me by the waist. I was about to say thank you when someone abruptly pulled us apart. My arm was grabbed so hard it hurt. "Brother, you're hurting me." I frowned at Andy Taylor, not knowing what was wrong with him. "Charles, I've told you that Rose is very cunning, not the type you can handle. Someone like her isn't suited to enter our circle. Don't be fooled by her appearance." Charles shrugged and went to greet his uncle and aunt. "I want to go too, but Andy Taylor is still holding onto my arm." "Don't think I don't understand your little schemes. My wrist hurts, and I'm already very impatient. If my uncle and aunt weren't here, I would have lost my temper immediately." "What do you mean? I don't understand." "You don't understand. You just want to flirt with Charles right in front of me to test my attitude toward you, don't you? Let me tell you, Rose. Even if you sleep with someone else tonight, I won't be jealous, and I certainly won't stop you." My heart sank abruptly. I knew Andy Taylor didn't love me, but I never expected him to degrade me like this. Did he think I would still love him after being reborn, with hatred between us? Did he think I had no other men to choose from besides him? Rose, am not without achievements, nor am I an ugly duckling. What gives him the right to judge me like this? Please let go of me. Andy Taylor suddenly realized he was still gripping my arm. He released it as if burned, but a red mark had already formed on my skin. He avoided my gaze and said, "Anyway, you should stop having thoughts like you did today. I'm about to get engaged to Linda. My parents will announce the news tonight. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, I begged my parents for this." He looked at me with an expression that said, "You can give up now." But my heart had long since died. I turned around, draping my clothes over the spot where Andy Taylor had just gripped, and went to greet my uncle and aunt. No matter how Andy Taylor treated me, my uncle and aunt had always been very good to me, giving me whatever I wanted. The achievements I made in physics were also thanks to their unwavering support. It was my uncle's birthday today, and I couldn't spoil the mood. After greeting them, I went upstairs to change. I hadn't gone far when Charles called out to me, "This dress was prepared for you." He handed me a piece of clothing. I was taken aback for a moment and didn't take it. The marks on your wrist are too obvious. If someone sees them, it will inevitably lead to unnecessary talk. This piece of clothing has long sleeves and can help cover them up a bit. You can return it to me after the banquet. Thank you, Brother Charles. I obediently expressed my gratitude, genuinely thankful for Charles's thoughtfulness. I've told you not to call him Andy, brother. He's a careless person who only has a bit of patience for Linda, but I'm different. Anyone my brother sets his eyes on will be kept in my heart every second of every day. So, little sister, would you like to be the one in my heart? Charles's superior height was like that of a male model, and his face, which could rival any male celebrity, shone brilliantly under the lights. I had always known that Charles was born into a good family, and what's more, he came from a red background. His family upbringing was very strict, otherwise, the Taylor family wouldn't have allowed Andy Taylor and Charles to grow up together since childhood. Brother Charles, are you serious? I asked him somewhat cautiously. Charles just smiled, patted my head, and turned to leave. There were many celebrities at the banquet. The Taylor family has extensive connections, so naturally, many people attended Uncle Taylor's 55th birthday banquet. Feeling utterly bored, I wandered around with a glass in hand, watching the lively toasts and chatter at the banquet, my mind drifting for a moment. In my previous life, I was the one who organized such occasions. Ever since I married Andy Taylor, he never bothered with any family matters, including when I gave birth and the baby's 100 days celebration. He never showed up. Only my in-laws and I attended. Back then, I was always the subject of gossip, just like now. Have you heard? This adopted daughter of the Taylor family doesn't even have the status of an adopted daughter, yet she still has the nerve to try and seduce young Master Taylor. Exactly, but Mr. Taylor doesn't even look at her, a woman from the countryside, thinking she can marry into a wealthy family just because of some so-called life-saving favor. I'm starting to wonder if that car accident was really an accident or if it was planned. She dressed so nicely today. Could it be to seduce Mr. Taylor? Miss Linda said that Mr. Taylor is going to propose to her in public today. Some people just don't know their place. I heard these words, and so did Andy Taylor, but he just kept introducing Linda around, completely ignoring everyone else. This also led to others becoming increasingly brazen. I suppressed the anger in my heart, telling myself to just endure it a little longer. After tonight, everything would be fine. Shut up, all of you. If any of you dare say another word, I'll be the one covering your medical bills today. A cold sneer sounded, and I saw Charles staring coldly at those who were gossiping. They were people Linda had brought in the first place, too cowardly to provoke Charles, and only daring to bully someone like me who had no backing. Thank you, Brother Charles, I expressed my gratitude sincerely. But Charles wasn't having it. Aren't you supposed to have quite the temper? Even if you don't rely on the Taylor family in the future, it's fine, I've got your back. Just go ahead and cause trouble, and I'll clean up the mess for you. I smiled but didn't respond. There was no favoritism, only chips to be cashed in the future. I didn't think I had any chips to give Charles. Soon, my uncle and aunt found me. I offered my congratulations, gave them the gift, and was about to find an excuse to leave. But Uncle Taylor and Auntie insisted I stay, saying they had something important to announce. Uncle Taylor pulled me and Andy Taylor to the center of the banquet hall and announced to everyone, quiet down. Thank you all for coming to my birthday celebration. Today, taking advantage of this joyful occasion, I'd like to announce two things. I stood beside Andy Taylor, and he whispered to me, "Did you pull some kind of trick? Let me tell you, even if my dad forces me to marry you, I won't make the same mistake twice." Same here. What did you just say, Andy? Rose, come over here. Andy Taylor's questioning was interrupted by Uncle Taylor. I stepped forward with a smile, while Andy took my hand and Uncle Taylor held on to Andy Taylor. I really like Rose. I've always wanted to find an opportunity to officially recognize her as my daughter, but a fortune teller said that if I want to adopt a daughter, I must wait until my 55th birthday. Rose's parents sacrificed themselves to save our entire family, and I will remember this debt of gratitude for the rest of my life. They also gave me such an outstanding daughter in Rose. From today onward, Rose is the eldest daughter of the Taylor family, and she is equal to Andy. Therefore, I hope that everyone present will show her respect in the future. I think she's still young and shouldn't have to endure any grievances. Andy Taylor froze abruptly, his gaze snapping toward me almost instantly. I simply smiled calmly, even taking a moment to say, "Godfather, godmother, brother." Everyone immediately understood that from then on, I was no longer the Taylor family's nameless adopted daughter. I was the Taylor family's young lady, acknowledged by Uncle and Aunt Taylor. If anyone dares to bully you, the Taylor family will surely seek justice. The few people who had spoken ill of me earlier slipped away from the corner of the banquet hall in disgrace, as if afraid I would remember them and report them. My godparents gave me gifts. I reached out my hand and asked Andy Taylor, "Brother, don't you have a gift for me?" Andy Taylor looked at me with deep, intense eyes. He narrowed them slightly and whispered, "What are you scheming now? Even if you become my sister, I won't have any thoughts about you. You're overthinking it, I told you. I really don't like you. I like someone else. Who do you like? Point them out to me, or else you're just trying to cover it up. Is it fun to get close to me using such a disgusting identity? Rose, have some shame." He actually said I have no shame. In our previous life, it was clearly him who wanted to have his cake and eat it too. How dare he say I have no shame? Then again, I gave all my face to him, which is why his skin is now thick enough to utter such shameless words, like. What kind of like, Rose? Do you have someone you like? Is it someone here? My godmother, with her sharp ears, caught a few words. Andy Taylor's body stiffened, and he shot me a warning glance. I looked at my godmother without a trace of flaw, smiling as I said, "There is one. My brother saw me writing to him before and asked me about it. At the time, I felt I wasn't good enough for him, so I never confessed." My godmother took my hand and said, "You're the Taylor family's young lady now. You're a match for anyone. Bring him over right now so we can meet him." Andy Taylor said coldly, "Mom, stop joining in the commotion. Who else could she possibly like? Didn't we say today was about announcing my engagement with Linda? That's what this is about, right?" Andy Taylor simply didn't believe I could like someone else. I spotted Charles in the crowd and waved at him. Charles pointed at himself, and I nodded vigorously. Andy Taylor warned in a low voice, "Don't cause any trouble. Today is Dad's birthday. Your issues can wait." There was an urgency in his voice, as if trying to hide something, but I just wanted to tell Andy Taylor that I had no interest in him whatsoever. The moment Charles arrived, my godparents' eyes lit up. "Rose, is the person you said you like Charles?" I nodded shyly and stepped forward to say to Charles, "Brother Charles, I like you. I wrote you many letters before, but I didn't dare give them to you. I hope you can give me a chance today to like you and spend time with you." Charles raised an eyebrow, first glancing at Andy Taylor, whose face had darkened. "Do you really like me, Brother Charles?" "I like you." I looked into Charles's eyes, with a hint of pleading. "Aren't you the one who told me to cause trouble? Don't make a scene." Just as Andy Taylor was about to step forward to hold me back, Charles said, "What a coincidence. I like you too, Uncle. Aunt, I also like Rose very much. From now on, I will help you take good care of Rose and will never let anyone bully her. I myself won't bully her either." As he spoke, Charles bent down, took my hand, and pulled me from Andy Taylor's side to his own. "Oh, what wonderful news. Charles is such a thoughtful and caring child. With you looking after Rose from now on, I can rest assured." My godfather was overjoyed and couldn't help but clink glasses with my godmother. Only Andy Taylor had an indifferent expression. He glanced a few times at Charles holding my hand with a somewhat sinister look before turning away. When he saw Linda, his expression softened for a moment. "Mom, Dad, let's also announce the news of my engagement with Linda today." Godfather didn't respond, but Godmother smiled and said it was fine, then took the opportunity to make an announcement. After the announcement, Godmother personally took Charles and me to introduce us to everyone, leaving Andy Taylor and Linda in an awkward silence. "Rose must hate me for taking you away, which is why she's stealing the spotlight like this. Andy, if Rose already dislikes me this much now, won't she see me as a thorn in her side once I marry you? Will your parents end up disliking me too? Don't overthink it. My parents still respect my wishes. Her parents saved my entire family, and we only feel gratitude toward her. However, the Taylor family has also raised Rose for 10 years, so the debt of gratitude has been repaid enough. If she dares to bully you, I will definitely protect you. Andy, you're still the one who treats me best." Linda leaned against Andy Taylor's chest, her eyes filled with deep calculation. During the banquet's break, I took a breather by the pond in the courtyard. Linda came over holding a wine glass. I had intended to walk away to avoid bad luck, but Linda stopped me. "What are you hiding from? Do you have a guilty conscience, Miss Linda? I don't understand what you're saying." Putting on an act in front of Andy by calling me sister-in-law, but as soon as no one's around, you call me Miss Linda. "Rose, don't think I don't know what's on your mind. Let me make it clear to you. I might already be carrying Andy's child. Andy can't bear to be apart from me now. He spends every day with me. I advise you not to entertain any other ideas about Andy, or don't blame me for driving you out of the Taylor family." I was amused by Linda's words. A thought crossed my mind, and I provoked her. "You, drive me out of the Taylor family? With what authority? What gives you the right to make me leave, just because you're Andy Taylor's daughter?" "But I am also the eldest daughter of the Taylor family." My expression must have wounded Linda's pride, because she suddenly lunged at me. I dodged, and she fell into the pond. The pond wasn't originally deep, but because the bottom was slippery, Linda didn't manage to stand up immediately and cried for help at once. I was suddenly pushed from behind, falling to the ground. The splashing water soaked my clothes. When I could see clearly again, I saw that Andy Taylor had already carried Linda out of the water. Linda clutched Andy Taylor's clothes and wept. "Andy, it's not Rose's fault. I really fell into the water by myself." "Who are you trying to fool? I told you long ago that you might be pregnant. How could you still be so careless? Rose, how vicious your heart is, so impatient to wish an accident upon Linda." My head hit the gravel path, scraped and bloodied beyond recognition. Blood stained my clothes, and my palms burned with a fiery pain. The pain in my hands was nothing compared to the suffocating ache in my heart. I almost forgot. Andy Taylor never believed me, in my previous life. It was the same. He always believed Linda's words, while mine were always met with prejudice, especially this time, when he saw it with his own eyes. "Are you okay?" A pair of hands steadied me, helping me up. I blinked, tears sliding from the corners of my eyes. Charles held my hand and examined it, frowning as he said, "How did you get hurt so badly?" Andy Taylor said coldly, "Charles, didn't you see? Linda almost drowned." I saw. "Andy Taylor, have you lost your mind? With the shallow water in your pond, even a dog wouldn't drown, let alone Linda. She's so big. If she fell in, who knows how much water would splash out. If you had waited any longer to rescue her, she might have splashed all the water away." Andy Taylor fell silent for a moment. Linda sobbed. "Andy, don't argue with Charles. I just wanted to have a few words with Rose earlier. Thinking that we'll be family soon and hoping to get closer in advance. I didn't expect Rose to reject me so much. It's all my fault. If you know it's your fault, then shut up, knowing you're disliked, yet you still provoke. I don't know whether to call you lively or shameless." "Andy Taylor, Rose grew up with us. You should know very well what kind of person she is. Would you rather believe an outsider than Rose? And isn't there surveillance footage here? If Miss Linda wants to clear her name, she can always have Andy Taylor check the footage." Andy Taylor noticed Linda's body stiffen, as she simply leaned against his chest and cried, "I know you're Rose's boyfriend, so it's only natural you'd side with her. I'm just an outsider. Andy, could you take me back? I don't want anyone to see me like this." Someone in the room had already noticed the situation here. Andy Taylor felt very distressed for Linda and frowned at me with a warning look. "This matter is not over. I will find out exactly what happened." As he spoke, he carried Linda and left. Charles lowered his head, holding my hand, and said, "Your hand is injured like this. Let me take you to the hospital to get it bandaged." He was assertive and even thoughtfully greeted his godparents. After the wound was treated, I asked Charles to take me back to school. "Look at the time. It's so late. The dormitory doors are already closed. Just stay at my place for the night." I immediately replied, "No need. I'll just book a hotel room for the night." "Do you have any clothes to change into?" "My cousin has some of her clothes in her room. Let me go back first, and I'll have someone find clothes for you. We just announced our relationship today, so it's only right for you to come to my place. Staying at a hotel would be like slapping me in the face." He looked at me as if to say, "Your choice." I obediently replied, "Then I'll trouble you, Brother Charles. Actually, I'm not that much older than you, just about 4.5 years. Right, just call me by my name, Charles. Boyfriend, partner, I've heard all of those. Pick one." I'm speechless. "Brother Charles, about what happened today. You were the one who provoked me first. You're not just trying to use me, are you?" Charles's smile faded, his eyes cold as he looked at me. I suddenly remembered some rumors about Charles circulating in our circle. When Charles gets stubborn, he doesn't even recognize his own family. I couldn't help but swallow and said, No, how could I ever think of using you?" "What about those letters you wrote me? When are you going to give them to me?" I thought to myself, those letters were all burned by Andy Taylor. There's no way I can give them to you now, but I'm afraid of dying, so I thought I'd write a few letters in a couple of days to brush him off. So I said, "I'll give them to you in a couple of days. They're all in my room." "All right, I'll ask you for them in a few days. If you don't give them to me, I'll ask your parents for them." I'm speechless. My phone rang, saving me from Charles's questioning. I looked at my phone and froze at the sight of the 3 characters, Andy Taylor. He had never called me on his own initiative before, this was the first time, but I didn't answer. I could almost guess the reason for his call. He probably just wanted to lecture me. I've had enough for today and don't want to hear another lecture from Andy Taylor. So I just turned off my phone directly. Charles glanced at it, the corner of his lips lifting slightly. When I took a shower in the evening, the aunt helped me wrap plastic wrap around my arm. I managed to wash with one hand and put on my pajamas. Surprisingly, I had sweet dreams that night. The next morning, my hand felt much better. When I turned on my phone, I saw that Andy Taylor had called me many times. Andy Taylor, where are you? Andy Taylor, pick up my call. Andy Taylor, I checked the surveillance footage and no, it wasn't your fault. All right, where are you right now? Andy Taylor, Rose, where on earth are you? Are you with Charles? The last message was sent after 3 in the morning, from Andy Taylor. Did you sleep with Charles? I sneered coldly. Did he think everyone was like him, coming back to life and the first thing you do is sleep with someone? Auntie called me to breakfast, but I didn't see Charles, Auntie explained with a smile. The young master seemed to have gone out last night and came back quite late. He's still sleeping. By the way, miss, the young master has already arranged for old Chen to take you to school later. Okay, thank you, Auntie. The young master also instructed that you take these ointments with you. If your hand feels uncomfortable, go to the infirmary and have it checked. Okay, thank you, Brother Charles. The young master said if you want to thank him, you should hurry up and give him his things back. I'm speechless. People with too good a memory can be at a disadvantage. After the meal, Uncle Chen drove me to school. As soon as I got out of the car, I ran into Andy Taylor. There were dark circles under his eyes, and they lit up for a moment when he saw me. But the light faded almost instantly. Why didn't you answer my calls? He asked me coldly. My phone is out of battery. I turned it on in front of him, but it shut down again due to low battery. Andy Taylor's expression softened slightly, then immediately turned stern again as he asked, where were you last night? Looking at Andy Taylor's expression, I found it amusing. It's at my brother's place. Andy Taylor's eyes suddenly sharpened, staring at me as if trying to see right through me. What are you trying to pull with me? I told you to find someone to sleep with, and you actually went and did it, Rose. I never knew you were such a cheap woman. A wave of anger choked in my chest. In Andy Taylor's eyes, even if he saw the surveillance footage and knew I didn't push Linda, it wouldn't change his bad impression of me. When a person's heart is biased to a certain extent, it can't be straightened out. None of your business. I have nothing to do with you, nothing to do with me. Just yesterday, Mom and Dad announced you as the Taylor family's young lady. If you say we have nothing to do with each other, then why did you agree to let them recognize you as their daughter? Andy Taylor's shouting attracted quite a few people. I think he must have gone mad, so I decided to lay it all out, because once you take me as your goddaughter, you won't think I like you, Andy Taylor. I really, really don't like you. If I gave you the wrong impression before, I apologize. I was young then and didn't understand the complexities of human emotions. Now I know what I want. After I finished speaking, I turned to leave, but Andy Taylor grabbed my hand. In a hoarse voice, he asked, "What is it that you want?" His voice sounded a little shaky. Perhaps he didn't believe that I had given up my lingering feelings for him. I continued, "No matter what I want, it's not you, Andy Taylor. I don't want you. I never will." After I finished speaking, I pulled Andy Taylor's hand away. The gauze on my hand seemed to sting his eyes. Only then did he remember. Yesterday, when he pushed me, he merely opened his mouth in the end, but ultimately said nothing. A month had finally passed, and it was time for me to leave the school. I packed my things and left with my luggage. As soon as I stepped out, I saw Charles. I was a bit surprised, wondering why he had come. I had almost forgotten about Charles during this time. What, you won't give me the letter? And now you want to run away? No, you just want to get into the research institute without anyone else knowing. How did Charles know? I didn't tell anyone. The letter to my godparents should be delivered tonight. I told you, if you provoke me, you have to take responsibility. I gave you time to take the initiative, not to run away. In my past life, I was trapped by love. In this life, I don't want to get too deeply involved in romantic relationships. The young lady's hesitation is right, but think about it. If Andy Taylor regrets it in the future, who can protect you? I feel like I've escaped the wolf's den only to fall into the tiger's lair. Are you threatening me? If my previous words caused any misunderstanding, I sincerely apologize. As you could see that day, I had no other choice. How about I promise to do one thing for you, 2 things, at most 2 things. Charles looked at me with deep, thoughtful eyes. As if he was considering something, my heart tightened. If Charles didn't allow me to leave and ended up exposing my situation to the Taylor family, it would only bring me more trouble. You've seen the posts on social media, right? I heard Linda is pregnant, and Andy Taylor is going to marry her soon. His good days are almost over. I never intended to force you. I just wanted to give you another option, Rose. Take a closer look at me. I'm better than Andy Taylor. I'm speechless. This guy would make a great salesman. He's got a whole set of persuasive tactics. Charles finally agreed to let me do 2 things for him and then let me go. In the end, I successfully entered the research institute. After getting familiar with the place for half a month, I finally started to adapt to the pace of the research institute, and my days became very fulfilling. It's just that recently, Andy Taylor has been harassing me, asking where I am. I didn't block him, nor did I reply, because I knew that once I blocked him, he would immediately go and complain to my godparents. After I left, my godfather called and asked me if I liked Andy Taylor, and if I did, he would make it happen for me. He could tell that my feelings for Andy Taylor were different, which is why he asked. I made it clear that I had no interest in Andy Taylor. It was Charles the first liked, so I asked him to keep it a secret from me and not tell Andy Taylor where I had gone. The fact that Andy Taylor hadn't found me for so long meant that my godfather hadn't said much. The messages Andy Taylor sent me were becoming more and more frequent. Andy Taylor, where on earth have you been? Do you think I would care about you if you do this? Are you trying so hard to get my attention? You're insane, Andy Taylor. Rose, I'm telling you one more time, answer the phone. Where exactly have you gone, Andy Taylor? Linda already has a child. I won't like anyone else anymore, Andy Taylor. Rose, why are you ignoring me, feeling guilty, or are you afraid that if you respond, you won't be able to resist falling for me, Andy Taylor? Rose, where exactly are you, Andy Taylor? Why doesn't Charles know where you are either? Rose, is hiding from me really that fun? Are you really that guilty? Looking at Andy Taylor's messages, I furrowed my brow. This man is quite something. In my previous life, he clearly despised me to death, but in this life, when I stopped bothering him, he started bothering me instead. Does he not believe that I don't like him? Just as I was thinking, Charles called me. Sister, I have a life or death matter to ask of you now, and I have one condition to offer. When Charles and I sat together to take our marriage license photo, I had already thought it through very clearly. If it's so painful to agree, are you really willing to get the marriage certificate with me? Charles still seemed somewhat unconvinced. I laughed nervously and said, of course it's true. Today, I'm taking you to meet my godfather and godmother. After we see them, I'll take you to visit my grandparents. Charles couldn't suppress the smile at the corner of his lips. What, do you think I'm presentable enough to show off back home? I sighed and said, my grandfather is in poor health. His biggest wish is to see me settle down and start a family. Charles reached out and gently held my hand, saying softly, don't worry, I'll always be by your side. I hummed in response, but I hadn't actually heard a word he said. My mind was completely occupied with how to explain bringing Charles home tonight. Sure enough, as soon as I returned to the Taylor family home, I ran into Andy Taylor and Linda. Sister, you're back. Where have you been all these days? Andy has been especially worried about you. She couldn't even feel happy about my pregnancy news. I glanced at Andy Taylor, who said coldly, I'm not concerned about her. I just don't want her to die outside and have people say the Taylor family is ungrateful. Andy Taylor still had anger in his eyes. I smiled and said, brother, there's no need for you and sister-in-law to worry about me. Charles and I are doing just fine. By the way, Charles and I got our marriage certificate today. I came back specifically to tell my godfather and godmother. Linda immediately asked, you really got the marriage certificate with Charles? Andy Taylor clenched his fist, staring at me intently, trying to discern the truth for himself. Auntie came out and called me in. My godfather and godmother were already seated. Unexpectedly, Charles's parents were also there. Charles is just being reckless. How could he get married with Rose without saying a word? Isn't this unfair to Rose? Today, we're here to apologize. Rest assured, Rose will have everything that others have. Charles's parents were indeed wealthy and influential. As soon as they finished speaking, the sound of cars and bustling activity could be heard outside. I went out first to take a look and saw Charles bringing a lot of people over, carrying many things. He was holding a bouquet of roses in his hand. As soon as he saw me, he smiled, hugged me, and stuffed the roses into my arms. What are you doing? What, Don't tell me you thought I'd keep my marriage a secret. Then what's the point of getting married? I only got married to stop people from nagging me about it. We're helping each other out, so let's do it right." I'm speechless. When Andy Taylor and the others came out, I could only smile and walk back into the house with Charles's arm linked in mine. As we passed by Andy Taylor, his glare could have killed both of us, since we had already obtained our marriage certificate. My godparents didn't require an engagement ceremony, but a wedding banquet was definitely necessary, because Andy Taylor was older than me, and Linda was pregnant. His wedding took place earlier than mine. That evening, Charles's parents left him at the Taylor family's house, or rather, in my room to foster our relationship. I'm speechless. No, this is too fast. Something just doesn't feel right. I only agreed to a fake marriage, so how did things end up in such an irreversible state? Charles and I were left staring at each other in the room. He smiled and asked, "Would you like to shower first, or should I?" "I'll go first. There are some things in the bathroom that aren't convenient for guys to see, so I had to go in first to tidy up." While I was showering, I thought I heard someone knocking, but when I asked Charles, he said he didn't hear anything. Andy Taylor lives next door. Maybe someone was knocking on his door. After taking a shower, Charles took the bathrobe given by the aunt and went in to bathe. I started my skincare routine, and by the time he came out, I still hadn't finished applying everything. Charles casually walked over, took the hairdryer, and helped me dry my hair. I felt my cheeks grow a little warm. This was the first time I had been in such close contact with another man, just as my hair was half dry. There was a knock at the door. I got up to answer it, but Charles pressed down on my shoulder. He said to the person outside in a hoarse voice, "It's not convenient to come in right now, let's talk tomorrow." I'm speechless. It was a completely misleading tone. There was no sound outside the door, only my awkwardness inside the room. Lying on the bed, I kept a clear distance from Charles, feeling so awkward that I kept swallowing. Charles chuckled and said, "If you're so eager for me, little sister, why not come over and touch?" I was confused. The next day, Charles and I left the Taylor family. I didn't see Andy Taylor, only Linda, who looked exhausted. Charles and I returned to our hometown to visit my grandparents. Grandma was in good health, while Grandpa's health was a bit weak, but his spirits were still quite good. They were very pleased to see me married and looked at Charles with satisfaction. Just as the wheat was ripe, Charles helped with the harvesting, and Grandpa was very pleased with him. In the evening, Grandpa even made him a delicious meal, but after eating it, Charles couldn't sleep at night. Grandpa wants to hold a great-grandchild. The soup he gave me was a bit too nourishing. I'm speechless. Don't say such wild words to me, Rose. I'm not feeling well. I hesitated. What should we do then? I can't just sleep with Charles, can I? That would only make things more complicated. I won't hold you responsible, okay? Just think of it as helping me out. Didn't I help Grandpa harvest the wheat today? Do you really not need me to take responsibility, heartless woman? Charles chuckled and pinned me down, his kisses falling one after another. I heard someone knocking at the door, but Charles wouldn't let me go. I could faintly hear Grandpa answering the door, as if bringing someone inside. Charles was being so rough that I couldn't help but let out a couple of moans. It suddenly went quiet outside, and soon after, someone left. In the darkness, Charles's voice was low and hoarse as he tempted me. "Tell me you love me, Rose." I love you, you little rascal. I love you." Charles loves me. Since when? My brain can't keep up. The next day, I found out that Andy Taylor had come the night before, left some gifts, and then left. Grandfather blushed and said to Charles, "It's great to be young man." I'm speechless. How embarrassing. When I returned to the Taylor family, I learned that Linda had miscarried while looking for Andy Taylor. It rained these past 2 days, and Linda slipped and fell, so their originally scheduled wedding was postponed. I married Charles. After that, I moved into Charles's villa and continued with my research, only occasionally finding time to visit my godparents. Later, I heard from my godmother that Andy Taylor and Linda had a disagreement. Linda may seem easy to talk to, but she's full of schemes. Even before entering the family, she's already thinking about managing household affairs. She even urged Andy to transfer the shares under her name. Isn't that just absurd? Even scamming money isn't done like this. I didn't voice my opinion because it had nothing to do with me. Later, people in our circle were all saying that Andy Taylor and Linda had several arguments, and the situation got quite messy. It seemed that Andy Taylor had someone else in his heart. Linda accused Andy Taylor of forgetting his original intentions. That night, Charles came back very fiercely, saying he wanted the second condition, for me to give him a child. during this time. I've grown to like Charles more and more because he always puts me first and never sacrifices me. He respects me a lot and never stops me from doing what I like. Instead, he supports me wholeheartedly. I really like children and also want to have a child full of love. Later, I became pregnant, and after the doctor's examination, it was confirmed that I was carrying twins, which brought great joy to the Charles family. But I continued with my research. Only now Charles would pick me up morning and evening. Then one day, Charles couldn't make it, and I ran into Andy Taylor. I held an umbrella while he stood in the rain, and we gazed at each other through the curtain of rain. His eyes red, he stepped forward, looking down at me as if seeing someone from his memories. Are you also reborn? Do you hate me? So in this life you don't want to marry me, don't want to have our child? Is that it? Isn't this what you wanted? In the last life, you killed me and our child with your own hands. Why should I repeat the same mistake in this life? Andy Taylor, you didn't choose me. So whatever happens between you and Linda has nothing to do with me. I just hope you won't blame me for your affairs. Andy Taylor slowly knelt in the rain, reaching out to gently hold my calf, bowing his head and trembling as he said, "But, Rose, I regret it." The rain grew heavier, so heavy that I could no longer make out Andy Taylor's words. In our past life, he caused the death of me and our child, all to save Linda. How could he possibly tell me now that he regrets it? Don't be pathetic, Andy Taylor. You don't truly love anyone, you're just selfish. What you can't have is always the best, isn't it? You're truly despicable. After saying this, I shook off Andy Taylor, stepped past him, and walked away. Andy Taylor knelt on the ground, turned around, and shouted after me, "Rose, it's you I love in my heart. You're the one in my heart. Linda and I, we were the mistake. Rose, please forgive me." My body froze. Heh, how laughable. Without turning my head, I said, "Go ask the child you killed, and the me from my past life, if they would forgive you. Don't show up in front of me again, because I truly find you disgusting." Andy Taylor's shoulders slumped as he watched me walk away. I hold the umbrella and walk my own path, steadily moving forward. I was the one who caused the death of Linda's child. I paid someone to do it for me. They killed my child. How could I possibly tolerate the birth of their child? As for the two of them, I want them to live in mutual disgust and torment, until death. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next